Okay, good morning and welcome to Just Daf It, Daf Yomi. We are starting a new parak today, the 13th parak of Maseches Yevamos, Daf Kuf Zayin 107. I'm excited to announce that I did an exclusive interview last night with my niece, 19-year-old girl, Israeli girl. Her father organizes a trip for seminary girls to Poland, American seminary girls to Poland. She went with them. She gave me the perspective as a consumer. Paying $2,000, is it worth it for a week in Poland, going to death camps, cemeteries, abandoned yeshivas? That's what you do for a whole week, of course, with the gourmet food and Class A accommodations. Listen, you have to hear what she says about it. I did an interesting interview last night. Should be coming out soon, later this week. I'm excited to say that. I'm also, if you're not aware, I have rounded out the Yeshiva's YouTube, the official Yeshiva's YouTube, the first and maybe the only ever that will exist. A Yeshiva exclusively on YouTube. It's not on Torah Anytime. It's not on all Mishnah, all Daf. It's on my channel. This is the only place I give 40 shiurim a week. And that includes a Daf Yomi shiur, and Ian on the Daf Yomi shiur, a Mishnah Yomi shiur, and Ian on the Mishnah Yomi, Shulchan Aruch Yomi, which is my invention. We are currently in Siman, today is Siman Lamed Daled, 34. We do that 5 times a week, and I give an Ian shir on that every day. And now we have added a Musar / Hashkafa shir, which is following. We started with the Sefer Orchos Yosher, which is a contemporary Sefer of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, Zatzal, who just passed away. He wrote, it's 30 chapters. We're going to do 2 chapters a week. I'm going to give the shir, I think, on Mondays and Thursdays. A Thursday shir will go whatever that chapter is. I'm going to try to tie it into the parsha. See my oratory skills in order to combine things, even though maybe there's no relationship between what I'm up to in the Sefer and that week's parsha. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to pull it off. Tomorrow's shir is about Bittul Torah. How am I tying to Parshas Korach? That's for you to find out. I already have my plans, and it's based on a Gemara in Yevamos, so it really ties everything together. I really feel like I'm learning Torah Kula every day, and I urge people to join me on this adventure, because if you stick with me and you stick with all my shiurim, you are going to become a huge Talmid Chacham and also a huge Am Aretz within a matter of a year. I think you watch my shiurim every day, all my shiurim for a year. Let's say you give an hour and a half of your day to me, to join me. You will become a huge Talmid Chacham and a huge Am Aretz at the same time. And plus, I put out other content as well, like I mentioned, this weekly interview called Jewish Money. And hopefully in the future, I'll be going back to my vlogging, in interesting events in life with my classical sense of humor and fun and entertainment. Maybe one day I'll even do a comedy show, a comedy routine. I do it all on this channel. Torah is just the beginning. All right, let's get started. Daf Kuf Zayin. So my Rosh Kolal told me that it says in Mishlei. I was complaining the other day that no one really watches my channel. He says, the pasuk in Mishlei says, Yalucha Zar V'Alpicha, meaning foreigners, meaning strangers, should praise you, and not your own mouth. Your mouth shouldn't praise you. So he said the Hasidim say, doesn't mean your mouth shouldn't praise you. It means first that strangers should praise you, and then after the strangers praise you, then you can praise yourself. So I said, I don't know how to read the pasuk in Mishlei. I have to look in Mishlei, but personally, I think first you got to praise yourself. First you got to believe in yourself, and then others will praise you. He said, I do have some fans here in the shul. He's a Rosh Kolel. He's a fan of mine. I have numerous other fans. I have to actually say that the truth, that I am maybe more entertaining in real life than on video, which is usually the opposite. Most people who entertain on camera are pretty boring and not disgusting, but pretty boring people in the regular life. Some of them are a lot of very quiet and shy people. On camera, they can turn on the lights, camera, action. They light up, they put on a show, but it's just a show. In person, you meet them, they're a pretty boring person, a pretty unknowledgeable, pretty boring person. With me, it's the opposite. You meet me in person, it's the opposite. It'll be more entertaining in person. Anyone who knows me, that's the truth. But of course, I'm entertaining on camera also. So let's get started. The new parak, top of Kozayim and Aleph. Beit Shammai Omrim Ein Manin Ella Arusos. There's a concept of miyun, which means that a father, an orphan girl, she's younger than bat mitzvah, father dies. They don't want her. They want to get her married off. The father can marry a ketana off, but if the father's not alive, so they were masakim the rabbanon that either the mother or the brother can marry a ketana off. But because it's only rabbanon, she can refuse at any point before she becomes a gedola, or at the point where she becomes a gedola, she can refuse that marriage. We'll talk more about when she can refuse it, how she refuses it. This is what this paragraph is about. Only if they were engaged her, got her engaged. If she was already married, she can't refuse it. We paskin, like even if she's married, that is a ketana, she could refuse that. Bisham she can get out of it. Beishamai says only to the husband, or not to a yavam. Let's say she got married, an orphan girl, and then the husband died without children. They didn't have children. Obviously, she's a ketana, she didn't have children, right? Could she refuse her yavam, right? According to Beis Hillel, she can. Beishamai omrim b'fanav, Beis Hillel omrim b'fanav l'shal b'fanav. Doesn't have to be in front of him. It has to be. We're going to see in front of at least a beis din of at least 2 or 3 judges. They don't have to be mumchin. They could be at yotos, like the next phrase in the Mishnah. The beis din, Beishamai omrim beis din, Beis Hillel omrim beis din shal beis din. They mean you need 3 judges or 2 judges. We possibly 2 judges is okay for me. It doesn't have to be mumchen, it could be even hadyotos. You need a beis din, even people that are just amateurs in their knowledge of Torah. I'm one of the Beis Hillel, Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel is the Beis Shammai. Mine is v'hiktana, afilu dal v'chem meishapanim. Hillel says she wants to at age 6, age 7, she can refuse to get married to a guy, refuse him. Then get married to another guy at the age of 7, refuse. 8, refuse. She can do it as many times as she wants. I don't know if Shammai and Bnos Yisrael hefker. They can't just be married. You can't just marry them off as 6-year-old, 7-year-old. You're treating them like hefker. She can refuse once, and then when she grows up, she could. We're going to see it's Malchus and Gemara. Either she could recommit to that refusal, or it means there's 2 cases that we're talking about. She can refuse early as a ketana, and then also she can refuse as a gedola. We'll talk more of that in the Gemara. My time to Beit Shammai. What's the reason of Beit Shammai? They say an Asua can't, once she's married as a ketana, she can't refuse the marriage. Normally, when even gedolim get married, an adult man, an adult woman, if they make a t'nai in the nisuin, right? They make a stipulation. I'm only going to get married to you on such and such a condition, unless you're rich. And then they have nisuin, which is a bi'ila. Mila consummates the nisuin, a marital act. You can't go back on it. Even if the Tanai, you find out the woman is poor or the man is poor, it doesn't help. There's no Tanai b'nisua. That's a concept of Torah Morim Sachas Kedushin. Being Nisua Timoin, if we're Masakin, then a Nisua could be mine, or Masakin, or there is a concept of Miyan by Nisua, Asil Nemer Yesh Tanai b'nisuin. So technically it will work. My Miyan can work by Nisua. But people are going to get confused. They're going to say that regular nisuin by gedol, by adults, there's the concept of tonight. We don't want that. Obviously, Beis Shammai would say the same thing, not just if they actually were nevelas nisuin. They had a nisuin of chuppah. There's 2 types of nisuin. There's 3 types of nisuin. There's a nisuin of chuppah where they stand under the chuppah, but they didn't go into the yichur. There was no bi'ila. So there also, Beis Shammai says you can't do me. And what's the problem over there? If you say tonight b'chuppah. The Gemara says an interesting thing. According with this, if you make it tonight, you go into the chuppah already. That already also you can't invalidate the chuppah. What is this talking about? It's actually a Mishnah Mesachas Ksuvos Nav Mem Zayin. The father gives over to the emissaries of the husband. Who are the emissaries of the husband? So if you ever wondered, when you go to a wedding, right, the chassan and kala walk down to the chuppah. Who accompanies the chassan? Who accompanies the kala? So normally, it's either the chassan's parents accompany him, or the chassan. In the former communities, the real stark guys, the chassan is accompanied by 2 men, by his father and his father-in-law, and the woman is, if they're both alive, by the mother and her mother-in-law. If you want to be really from, The Gemara has a different opinion. The Gemara says, Masar al shluchei abal, that the father gives her over shluchei abal. Who walks the kala down? Chassan's parents. This is the third opinion over here. This is the real way it's supposed to be done, right? The mother and father-in-law walk the kala down, and I guess you'd assume that the chassan is walked down by his future father-in-law and mother-in-law. That's what the Gemara really holds, and that's what we're talking about, I think, over here. So again, apparently that affects some sort of nisuin also. So what are you going to say over there? Also, Beis Shammai would agree you can't do miyun over there. If the katana got married and they had a fancy masar al shulchan, and they married, they gave the kala over to her future in-laws. What are you going to say? So the Gemara says, lo plug rabbanan. Right, that case there's nothing. There's no Tanai would work over there. Tanai would invalidate Masira. But the Rabbanan, these are all types of Nisuin, so the Rabbanan didn't make distinctions because you might get confused. But I said, well, why are they not worried about these things? Maybe the Nisuin Tana the Rabbanan, everybody knows Nisuin Tana the Rabbanan, and no one's going to confuse with the Tanai and Nisuin. Rabbi Yosef, Dami Tarvayu, Time of Beis Shammai, the Fishay Adam, Osa Bilasa Bilasna. So they say a different reason for Beis Shammai. Because a man doesn't want to do a be'ilah, doesn't want to do a be'ilah as nus, doesn't want to be promiscuous. He wants to do, most men, some men want to be promiscuous, but most men, God-fearing, decent men, their be'ilah, they want to make it for marriage, and if she can get out of it, so then they're not going to want to enter into the marriage with her because she can just uproot it, and then all their be'ilah is nus. There is no be'ilah. That's a chuppah di isura, right? She's getting under the canopy, right? Under the canopy is just a preparation for be'ilah, so therefore, it's also a problem of a preparation for be'ilah. So he's not going to want to do it. When they just gave her over to walk down with her in-laws, what are you going to say? Lo plug rabbanan, and the rabbanan didn't make any distinctions. Why do they reject Beis Shammai's svara? Since they had Kedushin and Ksuva, before the Nisuin, there's a Kedushin normally, give her the ring and a Ksuva. So therefore, even though she uproots the marriage, it doesn't make a difference. No one's going to say it's Bila's Nus. He's not going to feel it's Bila's Nus because it was done in a heter. He did Kedushin and Ksuva, which looks like a marriage, so it's not considered Bila's Nus. People are not going to say it's Bila's Nus. Rav Papa Amar, he's not going to feel it's Bila's Nus. Rav Papa Amar, time of Beis Shammai Mishum Piri. A different reason, because it's a monetary issue. Time of the Beis Shammai Mishum Piri, the Amr Nesua Timoyin, right? When they get married, so he gets the Nisei Miluk, he gets to eat the payros from her property. If she doesn't give him that property, she wants to hold on to her property. So any fruits or any benefits or any dividends that she gets from that, so he gets to eat those payros. So time of the Beis Shammai Mishum Piri, the Amr Nesua Timoyin, if she gets married and they can uproot it, and he's already eating the payros. Shamad ba'achal humina, the so-self l'meipakam. He's afraid she's gonna divorce him or uproot the marriage. So he's gonna start eating a lot of the payros because he wants to get as much as he can out of it. He can end up losing her money. But he said al-adarab, kevan da'amar timoyin ashbuchim mishabach lehusavar di lo'aitzi le'krove umafki lamina. He says the opposite, that since her relatives could always advise her to get out of the marriage, he's gonna want to make it a more permanent marriage. He want to make it. He want to better it. One second. He wants to make the chassan better, the payros better, so that the relatives feel he's treating her well, and they're not going to want to tell her to uproot the marriage. How are you, Shmuel?
Hashem, continue. I'm listening.
Good to have you.
Good to have you. Good to be here.
What do you think about this? Miyun. We're talking about Miyun over here.
Today is Yom Miyun. Yom Miyun.
In Israel or throughout the world?
No, I'm saying we're starting Miyun. Yom Miyun.
So you're advising.
No, I'm just joking. Okay.
Shmuel is a marital therapist, and in his vast research, he has concluded, right? You've done numerous studies on this, that it's far better if a girl is an orphan, her father dies when she's a ktana, right? She hasn't reached adulthood yet, right? It's far superior to marry her off to anybody, right? Even a homeless guy off the street, it's better than to let her wait till she becomes older and get married herself, right? You found that in your expertise, in your numerous studies at Harvard and Yale?
I think there's a,
And
I think
Stanford.
there's a study right now going on about that right now.
Shmuel's done a study. That's why his beard is so long. He's like a professor. He's not a rabbi. He's a professor. He's a professor. He's done studies about this. And the psychology of girls that get married, it's just, beneficial to them that they have someone they can rely on, a husband that they can rely on. Right? That's what your studies found, right?
That's right.
A lot of the girls were interviewed and they said, wow, it's just no comparison,
That's right.
to wait 12 years, and, only get Hanukkah presents and not feel a real connection to somebody.
That's right.
Right? Chas v'shalom to wait till you're 20 years old and enter shidducha. I mean, you got to get married when you're young, right?
That's right. That's right.
Right? Shmuel concluded that with his numerous
right.
studies. He polled maybe like 100 million people. Right? You went to Africa? Where'd you go? He did his things in Africa, so I don't know if you can rely on his studies.
In
the tribes. So I don't know if you can rely on Shmuel's studies. He went to Africa. Which country did you go there? Where were you? Ghana, Rwanda? Where'd you go?
Went to Swaziland a little bit.
Swaziland, all right.
Yeah. They changed their name. I forgot what they called themselves.
It's called Eswatini now. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I know my stuff. Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah. You went to all the. Can you name 5 countries in Africa?
5 countries in Africa? Sure.
Yeah. Go.
What from the beginning? Africa?
There's a lot of countries in Africa.
Yes,
there's like
yes,
40, 50
Africa.
countries.
Right, Africa.
Do you know how? Do you name?
Swaziland.
All right, that's Eswatini. Yeah. What else?
Nigeria.
Good.
Niger.
Very good.
You
You knew that. Yeah, that's 3. Come on,
I
2
got
more.
that
2
one.
more. 2 more. Can you do it?
Zambia.
Yeah. Good.
You didn't think I know these places?
4. You're almost there, Shlomo.
Loco.
I'll give you an easy one. We left that country in order to come to Israel. The Jews many years ago.
Many years ago, they left this country to come to Israel.
There was many miracles when they left that country. There was a guy named Pharaoh, Ramses. Egypt is also in Africa. If you didn't know that.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. It's on the northeast tip of Africa.
And where's the Nile? Where's that?
The Nile. It's a long river that runs through most of Africa.
Oh,
It starts in Egypt and it runs south, and it's the longest river in the world. I believe after the Amazon. Amazon is the longest river. The Nile is the second longest river.
Very good.
That's why Jeff Bezos called it Amazon, because he just sends his packages down the river, and it goes to a lot of different people.
Why doesn't it come here? Maybe that's why we don't get our packages here on time. Maybe it's floating around in the Nile or in the Amazon or something. Maybe the monkeys are wearing my wife's, costume jewelry or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Are there monkeys in the Amazon?
The Amazon? Yeah, they got everything there. It's like a zoo. All right, we gotta get back to the shir.
Get back to the shir.
All right, so now we're back to trying to figure out the reason of Beit Shammai. It says Nesua can't do it. Miyun. So the Gemara says we talk about Peiros. Rav Amar, 4th reason. A husband is not going to want to get married to a woman, right? If she could uproot it from the Nisuin, right? So he's not going to get married because he has to pay a lot of money for the wedding hall and for this meal, right? So if there's a chance they just uprooted it on a whim, so he's not going to want to do it, she's not going to get married. But he said to her, no, it's worth it to him because, right, in society it's better. If you're known as married, right, you're a more accomplished person, right? Many people love to say, yeah, I'm married, right? When people know these couple is married, so it gives them a good name. So even he might lose the suda, he might lose the money, it's worth it to him. All right, Beit Shammai with Baal. Beit Shammai says you can only do it with the husband, not with the Yavam. Beit Hillel allows both. Amar Rabbi Shai menes l'mamaro menes l'zikaso. In Beit Hillel shita that she could do miyun to the Yavam. That's only she could dissolve the mimer. Meaning, if the Yavam did mimer to her, did a kedushin to her, she could dissolve that. But the zika, which is binding her to the Yavam, she can't absolve that. Amar Rav Chisda, my time with Rabbi Shai. What's the reason? Mimer the medaita matzia akra, zika the bal korchel matzia akra. Mimer, she consented to it, right? He gave her kedushin, he gave her a ring, let's say, to do mimer. She consented. She could be okay. That Zika, which came from the Torah, because she was married to the brother and he died, so she can't uproot that. Right? Bia, something like that. Right? Bia the Balkarka right? If the actual guy, the Yavam, would do bia with her and consummate Yibum, right? Umatya Akra. This is an unbelievable Gemara over here. The Gemara says that she could be Oker the Yibum, even though she's a Ketana, right? She could be Oker the Yibum. How could she be Oker the Yibum? This is really an amazing thing. Now that she's married to the guy, Yibum consummates the marriage. How could she? So you see over here that clearly that there is a concept of Nisuin, like I mentioned by Yibum, there's a king Yibum and a king Nisuin. Even though he does the Bia Bal Korcha, the Zika, even though he can't uproot the Zika according to this opinion, according to Rabbi Yoshaya, but he could, which is the Kenyan Yibmin, but he could uproot the Kenyan Nisuin. I've been saying all along, this is a proof to that. She could, right? The Nisuin is something independent, and the Beila is what consummates the Nisuin. She could uproot that, but Rabbi Shai would be modish. He can't absolve the Kenyan Yibmin, which is the Kenyan Zika. So the Gemara says, Ela Bia Maimar who the Ka'avin Matzia Akra. No, Bia and Maimar, the man is doing. She could uproot it. Zika the Rahman Ramal, the Torah placed it on her. It wasn't dependent on the man or the woman. Lo Matzia Akra. She can't uproot that. Ula argues on Rabbi Yeshai. Mamenas Avs Zikaso. She can absolve even the Zika. She can get out of the bond to the Yavam. My time when Nisua Kamai Ka'akra. Right? She was married to the first one. Right? Everyone agreed with the right. Yaktana could get married. I'm going to talk about this in Yom Ben Sion. That right, Yaktana, she doesn't have Kedushin, but Midaraisa she could have Nisuin. Right? The Kedusha Yaktana, the mother and the father, and the mother and the brother do, but the Nisua Yaktana they can do Midaraisa. So she's okay what her marriage was the first one. That he holds that basically the concept of the Yibam is that he's just replacing his brother, so he could uproot that marriage. Esive Rava Leula. Rava asked Ula Kol Shechol L'Mayim Lo Mina Sarasa Chaletzes from Yevamos. First Mishnah in our Masechta, right? If she could do Miyun and she doesn't do Miyun, right? We're talking about a Ktana that falls, right? Who's an erva, right? If she doesn't do Miyun, so therefore the Tzara, she's stuck. She has to do Chalitza, not Yibam. Tzara's erva. Amai Timoyin Hashav Takrinu Nisui Kamai. If the way Mian works is you're okay the original Nisuin, let her do Mian right now. And she was never married to the guy. She was never ever married to the brother. And therefore, the Sarah could do with this Tisyapim Sarah. Sarah's erva, she's not a Sarah's erva because the Mian uprooted the Nisuin originally. Where it says Sarah's erva shiny. No, that's Xer Darban. Tani Rabbi Mecheskel Mian Babal Muteres La'aviv. If she does Mian to the husband, she's Muteres to the father. But Yavam Asur La'aviv. But she does Mian to the Yavam, she's Asur to the father. Even though technically Mian uproots it, but now when Yibam happens, when the husband dies and now she falls to the Yavam, so it looks like the daughter-in-law, right? She can't marry the father of the Yavam because it looks like she's married. It looks like his daughter-in-law. Even though you're right, technically she could uproot it lamafreya retroactively, but at the time of the nefila, it looks like the tzara of the bas, and even though you uproot the nisui bas, but at the time of the field, it looks like it's a Xer Darabana, and therefore the Sarah needs Chalitza. Amarav, Mina Bezeh, Asrul Zeh. If she does Mian, let's say there's two Yavam, so she's Asr to the other one also. Immediately to have a Bailas a get, right? If you give a get, you have two brothers, and one gives a get to the woman, so it passes her to the other one also. You need a Chalitza, obviously. Bailas a get, Lav, Kevan, the Itzra, Lalachad, Itzra, Lakulu. Once you Asr to one brother, Asr to all of them. Hachanami Loshna, here also the same thing. Shmuel Amar Shmuel argues on Rav, Mina Bezeh, Muteris Lazeh. No, if it does Mian to one, he's much to the other brother. Lo Dami Labalas Aget. This is how we pass it like Shmuel. It's not similar to Balas Aget. Balas Aget with the Kavid Baha. Hacha Hika Av the Bay. Right? Get the Yavam is giving to her, so he passes her to all the Achin. Here, she's the one who's doing the Mian, so it's not the same, so therefore she can passel herself to him, but not to the others. Who he the Ka'av the Bay, the Amr Le Roina Bachal Savinach. I don't want you, I don't desire you. Bachud Lorina ha Bechavre Chraina, but your friend, I do want. Your brother, I do want. Rav Asi Amar, Mina is about Muteris. I feel low. If she does Mian to him, she's still Muteris to him, which is usually right. Not how we assume. Lemor Rabbi Yoshaya. Really, it must be. Ashi holds like Rabbi Yoshaya that the Mian doesn't break the Zika. So it did break the Zika, right? So then she couldn't marry him because it's like Chalitza. The Amar Einam Manes Zikaso. Gemara says, B'chad Yavam Hachanam B'Dematya Akra. No, really, Rav Ashu Modeh with one Yavam, she could oker and it should be usher them. Hacha b'shnei Yivin. Where does he say even she can marry to him? By two Yavams, the ein mian lechasi Zika. There's two Zikas, two brothers. She can't. She don't do mian to one of them. Her mian is ineffective. Half of mian is not valid at all. Kiyasa, so therefore she can marry even to that guy. Her mian is ineffective. Kiyasa Rav and Amar Rabbi Yochanan mian bezem muteres la'achin. If she does mian to one, she's mutter to the brothers. V'lahodulo, and someone didn't agree with Rabbi Yochanan. Man lahodulo. Who didn't agree with him? Rabbi Rav. Rav was the first opinion. Rav says that if there's two brothers, right, mian bezeh she's asur lezeh, right. So obviously that argues Rabbi Yochanan. It says muteres to the brother. Rav Amar Rabbi Yoshaya. It's like Rabbi Yoshaya's opinion that you can't do mian to a zika over here. So therefore, according to Rabbi Yoshaya also, it would be ineffective and she muteres to the brother. Amila Ravasi, some say it's Ravasi. Ravasi says mina bo, she's muteres even low. And here Rabbi Yochanan says mina bo, she's muteres to the akin, which sounds like Shmuel. So that not like Ravasi either. Beishamai omrim b'fanav b'shlo b'fanav. They can only do it b'fanav. And Beisil says whether it's a b'fanav or shlo b'fanav. Tanya Amrul had Beisil Beishamai b'alo pishon agamal. Pishon, who was a camel driver. Mina Ishto Shalom B'Fanav. He was married to a young woman. She did Mina Shalom B'Fanav, not in front of her. Amrul him in Beit Shammai. How can you allow that Beit Shammai? Beit Shammai says, "Pishon Gamal Mida Kfusha Madad." He didn't treat her properly. He acted to her with an inverted vessel, meaning basically he was eating a lot of her nechasim. The Fichach Madad Mida Kfusha. So therefore, even though technically Beit Shammai it's Xer Rabbanan, as we learned, they don't allow miyun from Nisuin. Here, we don't allow miyun shalom b'fanav. Here they allowed it. Fusha midka achel piri, because he was eating a lot of her fruits. Pshita. So the said pshita nisuahi amri Beit Shammai nisua lamana. So the Gemara says, obviously you see from here that he was married to her. How could another problem? Beit Shammai doesn't allow miyun from Nisuin. So the Gemara says, Trey Kitri Avdu Bey. There were two knots they really untied over here. Really, you're right, Midrabanan, they don't allow Miyun Shalom B'Fanav and Miyun out of Nisuin. But here they allowed it because he was hurting her Nechasim. Beishamai Omrim B'Fnei Beisin and Shalom B'Fnei Beisin. Only in front of Beisin. And Beisil says, even Shalom B'Fnei Beisin. Tana Hasam, we learned in Mesech Sanhedrin, HaChalitza B'Miyun B'Shlosha. It has to be in front of three Dayanan, presumably Mumchin, professionals. Mantan, Amarabba B'Bichamai, it's Beishamai. Right, who says that you need a beis din. Beisil says you don't need to shalom b'fnei beis din. Abaye Amar Afilu Tei Beisil. Abaye says no. We can even reconcile that Mishnah with Beisil. Ad kan l'kamri Beisil al d'labin and mumchin. Avashosha b'yin. You need at least a beis din of hedyotos. Zani b'shamay Omer b'fnei Beisil. Omer b'fnei beis din. V'shalom b'fnei beis din. Even if it's not in front of a beis din mumchin, but you need a beis din of hedyotos. Ve'elo elo modim zarach shlosha. Even Beisil and Beishamay, they agree you need three. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Machshir, Mishnayim. They say you can do miyun in front of two dayanim. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yumi, Amar, Rav Nachman, Halacha goes to Azog. The Halacha follows that pair that you can even do miyun in front of two, because really two is a valid basin. It's called the basin chatzuf. The Gemara says Mesech Sanhedrin. So technically, even with the evidence, where it's valid with two dayanim. Beishamai Omrim Timoyin. Beishamai says, what do you do? He says you can only do miyun once. Beisil says you can do miyun 4 or 5 times. Hamina chada zimna. So Beishamai says you can only do it when she becomes a gdola. So she's minus now when she's a ktana, and then when she's a gdola, she's minus again. So the Gemara says, "Hamiyana chadazim." Why should she be minus again when she's a gdola? Amar Shmuel Achad Tagdil v'Toma Rota Ani b'Miyunim Arishonim. No, she doesn't do miyan again. She just when she comes a gdola, she says, "Yeah, what I did when I was 6 years old, I want to keep to that." Ula Amar Tarti Kasani. Ula is a different answer in Beit Shammai. Oshadei Mayim v'Tagdil is talking about two different options. Either she could be memayin v'Tagdil v'Tearis, right, and then grow up, and then be milresses to somebody else. Or she has the option of doing miyun as a ktana, and then immediately getting married to somebody else. And according to Beishamai, once she does nisuin, she can't do miyun anymore. They only allow her to do miyun one time. So it says two different things till she becomes gdola, or she gets married. There's no two miyunim. She should be until she grows up. And she says, she confirms what she did when she was younger was valid. So Gemara says, Kasha, it really is indeed a good question. It seems more presumable that the answer of Ula is the more correct version of Beishamai. Shmuel, what do you have to say? You got refuted in the Gemara, Shmuel. We had Ula. What?
It doesn't mean she grew up and she's a gedola. It means she's 6, 7, 8, 9. She can't be a gedola. Once she's a gedola, nobody says you could do me if she's a gedola. It means she gets older. It doesn't mean she's a gedola.
We said that she does me as a katana, and then she can keep to her words.
She just got older.
No, when she when she's a
Nobody in the
Gdola.
world said-
No, that's what he says. She does miyun, and when she's a Gdola, she confirms what she
Who
said
said
earlier.
She's a gedola?
That's
She's
it.
married again when she's a gedola, she can do
She doesn't get married again. No. There's two opinions what Beis Shammai means. Right, that's Beis Hillel. We're talking about Beis Shammai in the Gemara. Beis Shammai says she has. There's two opinions in Beis Shammai. Either she does miyun when she's 6 years old and she confirms it when she's older, or she does miyun now when she's 6 years old and she gets married right away to somebody else, and that's it. Then she's stuck because that's Beis Hillel. You have to learn the Gedaf. Right, with we have two Shmuels in here, and two Shmuels are refuted. Look at this. Ula is two kashes. Shmuel got a kasha. Rab Shmuel and Shmuel Silver. Shmuel Kesef. You have to trade it in for gold. Maybe change your name to gold. Gold is worth 100 times the amount of silver.
Right.
Thank you for joining me, Shmuel and Rabbi
Thank you.
Shmuel.
It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. See you in Ben Sion coming up next.